Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, taking care of business on Canada's podcast network. Joining me today is Michele Romanow, who is CEO and co-founder of Clearco. She's one of the most well-known entrepreneurs in Canada and, of course, a TV personality. Thanks for joining us today, Michele.
Oh, wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me, Mario.
Well, I wanted to ask you, first of all, you have a unique partnership with the beer brand Heineken. Maybe if you
Yeah.
could explain what that is.
Yeah. I mean, Heineken had built a global campaign called The Closer, which is a brilliant idea. It's a Bluetooth bottle opener. And as soon as you use it to open a Heineken, it shuts down all your work apps. And so I heard the concept for the campaign that was so perfect because I think as an entrepreneur, I work a lot. And it's just that reminder to kind of take that extra moments with friends and family over the holiday season and enjoy a beer. So um, campaign was very much, it was funny. My sister was like, this is really like you. You know what I mean? You failed at all sorts of things here. So that was how the story of how the campaign came together. And we did it's been really fun to work with them.
So tell me how this works, this closer.
It is a wireless Bluetooth bottle opener, and as soon as you open a Heineken, it shuts down all your work apps, so your Zoom, your email, and it gives you that second to be in the moment.
Wonderful. How long does it shut down things for you?
I think you can choose, but it's really
Oh,
cool. And when you go to the Heineken website, you can gift a closer to someone else. So we've been sending them kind of across to all the different entrepreneurs in the Toronto ecosystem.
okay. Let's talk about that aspect of being unplugged. I know that Heineken had a survey as well going out with this about the quote unquote hustle culture that's out there today. How bad is that becoming? That we're plugged in and tuned in 100% of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are working very hard. Entrepreneurs were working incredibly hard during our 13-year bull market. And then this year, things unfortunately got even harder, another 10 times harder as we're going into a recessionary environment. And so I, I think it's very difficult to disconnect. I think entrepreneurs feel this, some of the most because, you just don't get to shut down often from your business. And so, um, reminding people that they need an extra second to think about, you know, even just even just being able to reflect and figure out what's next and how to prioritize and how to do the best thing for your business, I think is important.
Now we're seeing a lot of statistics and research out there about the burnout of Canadians. Well, most people in general, but also it's kind of like the work-life balance not really being balanced. What from a business perspective, when you're burnt out and when you don't have that work-life balance, how does that impact your actual businesses as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things. David Goggins has a great line around, when you think you have nothing left and you can't run another mile and can't take another step, you actually have 60% more left. And I think I've always really agreed with that. I think humans are incredibly resilient and they can always find, that second wind, especially after taking a break and taking a second to reflect on things. I think the next piece about balance that's important is I think many entrepreneurs would struggle to have balance um, over a day. There's sessions where you get to work for 8 hours a day, you get to do personal things for 8 hours a day, and you get to sleep for 8 hours a day. I don't think that will ever work for entrepreneurs. And so I try and look at my year in terms of like what happened in a year. Did I get enough time with my friends and my family and my partner? And um, all of those things that make a huge, huge difference. And so I think when you zoom out our time horizon, you can do a lot better job. But even within the day to day, you have to have those moments where you're taking a break.
All right. Tell me a little bit about Clearco, Michele, and what you do there.
Yeah, so Clearco is focused on investing in e-commerce entrepreneurs. I got the idea from the Dragon's Den show when I was on in my first season. I was seeing entrepreneurs give up way too much equity in their business. They were coming on the show saying, "Look, I'm willing to give away 10% of my company for my first $100,000." And when you ask those founders what they needed the money for, it was always the same two things. It was um, I need money for ad spend and I need money for inventory. And so those are really, things that have a fixed return. You invest in inventory, you can mark it up 4 times. And so it didn't make sense that founders were giving up equity in their business to do this. And so I remember on the show saying, look, I'll give you that $100,000 instead of taking 10% of your business that I would own forever. I just want 10% of your revenue until you pay me back my capital. Plus a fixed fee that was kind of between 6 and 10%. So it was very affordable. And the founder's like, oh, that sounds like a loan. And I was like, no, a loan would have a personal guarantee. It would have a fixed repayment period. And that means that if you didn't pay me back, I'd have both access to your personal assets and your business. So very, very punitive. And founder's like, oh, so it's like a rev share. And I was like, yeah, except that, it's not a royalty that goes on forever. And so that was the first Clearco deal. And, we've gotten to significant scale since doing that.
Tell me what you look for in a company when you're looking to invest.
Yeah, so I think there's two parts. For the Clearco part, we just look at their digital data. So we're looking at what their unit economics are, how fast you're growing, are you making margin on every single product you're selling? That's really what we're doing on the Clearco side. I think as an equity investor on Dragon's Den, that's more based on the human element, right? How resilient I think the founders are, how big I think their potential market is, and really do they have the ability to pivot? Because every entrepreneur starts something and you never end where you started. It's always a constant journey of pivoting, and it's really difficult to do along the way.
So, Michele, if you were to give aspiring entrepreneurs advice right now, what would you tell them?
Buckle up. This is going to be very difficult. You know, I started in a recessionary environment, and I think that taught me a lot. I also think in recessions, what does change is customers are willing to change their behavior to save money far easier than they are during bull markets. And so I'll give you 3 examples. I mean, during the 2008 recession, people became willing to say, oh, well, I'll take a stranger's car instead of a taxi. And that became the rise of Uber. People were willing to stay at people's apartments and not just hotel rooms, which was the rise of Airbnb. And people were looking for deep discounts on things to do locally, which was the rise of Groupon. All of those came out of 2008. And what that means is that when there's just less disposable income, people are far more creative and willing to try different things to save money. And ultimately, most startups are structured around how do you bring down the cost of a major line item, whatever it is, right? How do you use technology? How do you use efficiency? How do you use anything to really make something cheaper, accessible to people? And so I think it's going to be a tough time for businesses that were in growth and scale stage. But for new ventures, I think there's some willingness for people to try new things. And so it's not always a bad time to start.
All right. And one last piece of advice, Michele, when coming back to what we started talking about, the hustle culture, how would you tell entrepreneurs to deal with that and the challenges that they face being in a basically a 24/7 occupation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to priorities and focus at the end of the day. And it's much easier to say, it's far harder to do. And businesses die of gluttony, not starvation. They die of doing too many things, being spread too thin. If you are focused and you have a core business that you are focused on, it's unit economics, you will do okay. And so reminding yourself personally that you can only do 3 major things in a day. And so getting those things done and really focusing on the most important things first does a lot to reframe. And I think that it's not about working all the time. It's about working on the right things.
All right. And the last thing I wanted to ask you, we'll come back to the closer and the Heineken thing.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts initially when you heard about this?
Oh, I mean, I was ecstatic. I was like, this is like a campaign done for me. This is so fun and so fitting to what to just what I've seen. And so I was super happy to do the campaign. It was very, very genuine. And they
Oh,
didn't have to write speaking notes. I could use all my own words.
all right. Thanks very much, Michelle, for joining us today.
Yeah, it was great to be.
All right, that was Michele Romanow, who is CEO and co-founder of Clearco, as well as a TV personality and a well-known entrepreneur in Canada. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, taking care of business on Canada's Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us today.